In this video, we're going to cover 4 rules for striking design layout that are instantly going to make your design stand out. Rule number 1, visual tension. Curved v straight, fluid v sharp, old v new, serious v playful, photographic versus graphic. These are all opposites that work together to create visual tension. For example, this rather traditional painting and layout currently feels old-fashioned, but if you pair it with a really bright modern typography, suddenly you get that visual tension and the whole thing becomes quite intriguing. This style will work really well for an exhibition of traditional crafts in the modern world, or any other subject matter that has that tension between old and new. This photograph of a runner has a lot of movement, so what's the opposite of movement? Rigidity. Pairing it with some really bold graphic lines creates visual tension and makes for quite a striking composition. This typography feels very serious and technical, but pair it with a doodle style illustration and you're creating visual tension. It's all about combining unexpected opposites. Here are some other great real life examples of visual tension at play to create striking and memorable designs. Rule number 2, contrast. Big and small, dark and light. This is sort of an offshoot of the rules of visual tension. Contrast must be used for standout. Take this double page spread for a train ad. Overall it feels recessive, but by switching it up with some high contrast colours and a bigger, bolder headline copy, all of a sudden we have a much more impactful layout. We have contrast between the background and the text, the size of the body copy and the headline, and the image and the headline. When choosing bold colour combinations, make sure the colours work together still. If we switch to this, yes there is contrast, but it's also quite garish, and the text starts to become hard to read, so keep that in mind. Here are some great examples of striking contrast in action. There's also the contrast within our environment or against our composition that we have to consider. For example, if everyone else is bright and colourful, we actually stand out more by using muted colours. If everyone else is using classical design, we can do something much more contemporary. It creates a point of difference, and being different is intriguing and striking. Rule 3, bold simplicity. I often see designs that are needlessly overcomplicated. Look at this poster, for example. There's nothing terrible about it, but I certainly wouldn't call it striking. So how can we fix that? For this next step, I'll show you how you don't even need expensive professional design software to create a striking design. So I'll be using Kittle, but these principles apply no matter what software you're using. Kittle is a free to use online platform with a whole load of incredible features that help to make design accessible to anyone, so you can make your creative vision a reality. There are lots of striking templates on offer, but in this case, I'm going to be designing something from scratch. So what can we do to make this design striking? First things first, we'll remove anything that isn't essential for the time being. Now we're left with our logo, image and copy lines. Now we can simplify the colour palette. While simplifying, we want to use striking colour combinations with plenty of contrast without being garish. I'm going to use the image vectorizer tool, which is going to allow me to change the colour of the logo. Then I'm going to come over to shapes so I can add a black background. I'm finding the image of the dancer quite boring. I want to have more contrast between the rigid typography and the movement of the dancer. So I'll search Kittle's image library for something better. I really like how this one is in black and white, so we can get a nice simple colour palette, but it's got great movement, it's just a very dramatic image as well. Now I just need to position my text towards the top, and I'm going to change the font to something much more impactful. There's a lot of fonts you can choose from, so just have a look through. Now I can adjust the size and position of the font in the right hand panel here. And I just want to position it and increase the size so it goes the whole way across the top. You do need to make the text box slightly wider than the actual text that you need, so nothing drops down to the next line. But essentially I just want to get a really bold, striking title. Next, I want to accentuate the tension between the fluidity of the dancer and the rigidity of the text by layering the dancer over the text slightly. To do this, I can use Kittle's AI Copilot to remove the background. And once that's done, I can just play around with the image scaling until I've got some nice layering. And then finally just reposition my logo and website in the bottom right corner as a nice sign off. Now if we compare the two designs, you can see that by simplifying, then amplifying certain elements and utilising contrasting styles, we can create a striking design. Using Kittle's mockup generator, we can see how that design might look in reality, visualising how a striking design like this might stand out and grab your attention. I would highly recommend Kittle. Try it for free using my link in the description. For 25% off the first month or year of the Pro and Expert plans, use my code ShapesBySeanYT. This will give you access to the full potential of Kittle for a very affordable price. My last rule for striking design is striking subject matter. This essentially boils down to looking at your competitors and your environment and doing something very different. This can't just be provocative for the sake of it. You need to tell great stories about your brand, product or service in imaginative ways. This can be done through humour, provocation, shock, horror or wonder. For example, Glenmorangie whiskey use a very tall still as it creates a very clean, pure tasting whiskey. But how do they tell that story? The boring thing to do would be literally show the still. Instead, they display a draft that's as tall as their still. This is completely unexpected and therefore very attention grabbing, and is something that can be used in different ways across various channels. This ad by famous fast food chain McDonald's, rather than following the typical tropes of burger beauty shots, takes a more creative approach, rendering the burgers moving at high speed. The designs are simple but distinguishable, memorable and different. There are plenty of examples out there to learn from, so it's always worth looking to see what's out there and see what other people are doing, and think about which principles they're applying to create striking subject matter. If you'd like more design tips, click the thumbnail on the screen. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you haven't already, feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.